But let's talk with Josh here. We've got Scott and Slyke who's going to be joining him as well. They do the Triple Play podcast over on YouTube. So Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I really admire and think the vision of the Triple Play podcast is really awesome. So can you explain like what makes your podcast unique and what listeners to this could expect if they hop over on your podcast?
Okay, well, a little bit about me. Grew up mostly in the St. Louis area, and a huge Cardinal sports fan. In fact, my first game was the '82 World Series.
Wow.
So I got to see the '82 World Series, my very first Cardinal game. My dad told me to tell my first lie ever to get into the stadium. He said if they asked, tell them that you're 5, because I think it was 5 and below, you could get in free and sit on your parents' lap. So I think I was like 6 or 7 at the time. I just remember my dad was such a strict person that was so wild for my dad to tell me to say that. But we got in. We were at the very last row. His company had given him tickets, and I sat on his lap and watched the '82 World Series. And after that, I never looked back. I was very blessed. I know a lot of people watching this probably know some guy named Albert Pujols. I went to church with Albert for 11 years, and I did everything from being his gopher at times to just playing basketball, golf. He's a great guy. Got to hang out with him a ton and be a part of a Christian Family Day. Did that for about 6-7 years, mostly trying to help them as they reached out to the different organizations. Part of their mission was to bring underprivileged children down to the ball game to watch a ball game, get a free hot dog and drink, and then hear these players talk about their faith. So got to do that. And along the way, got to meet some guy with a burly face, and I think he just popped on, and quickly became good friends, and he's a good brother in Christ. And so over time, we've developed a great friendship. We now go to church together, and through God's providence, and I can just say that's what it was. Started this podcast called Triple Play, and Triple Play, we have 3 emphases, and that's sports, faith, which we kind of on purpose put that as the center, because that's kind of the center of all things, and then culture. And so we love to just talk and have great, honest conversations. We've had just a bunch of different folks on. I mean, it's just been great getting to know different people from different backgrounds and hear their stories. And just like you guys just had Victor Scott on, we enjoy those kind of conversations, getting to know what inspires them, what made them want to become the athlete they became, or the person they became. And so that's been part of our mission and who we are. So, hey Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I've been trying to figure out if I could guess what the question was this whole time.
What do you think it was?
I came up with nothing.
Well, I don't know how much Scott needs an introduction for a lot of you guys, but Scott, we asked Josh to introduce himself a little bit and tell us about the Triple Play podcast. But Scott, can you just tell us a little bit about you, and then maybe what your career looked like before what you're doing now, and then also your connection to the Cardinals through maybe a family member of yours? A lot of tee-ups there.
Yeah. Well, who else we got? We got Andrew, we got Sandy, and then I know you, Josh.
One other thing I got to say is I'm actually at the gym, so I got a couple of good friends here that are out here checking out too, man. They're
awesome.
Hey,
don't you know, Scott? This guy right here.
What kind of gym do you go to where guys got to wear sweatshirts in there? Can we get some heating?
All he wears is White Sox stuff. I don't think the guy has anything. Every day he has a White Sox jersey or shirt or shorts on. In fact, forever I didn't even know his name. I just called him White Sox.
Ask him if you liked Juan Uribe.
You like Juan Uribe?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, he said yeah.
He's a White Sox fan.
I like Scully being Slyke. He won the Sandy World Series.
Yeah.
Sandy, you had a lot of pop in your barrel, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
Fan of you since the John Burroughs days, brother.
Oh yeah.
And your dad's got the best crow hop of all time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? People that went out of style. People don't even crow hop anymore.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Good to see you guys be healthy.
See you guys.
They want to say hi real quick.
A little bit about Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah,
we got you good.
All right, cool. All right, let me know if I get too loud or too soft. Yeah, so I played baseball for the Dodgers for about 13 years. I ended up going to the Reds, then the Marlins, and then I finished in South Korea in a bang. And then I was done with baseball. And now a couple of years later, I work at State Farm. I do insurance, commercial insurance, whatever kind of insurance you do, and I also do the podcast with Josh. And yeah, the connection, Cardinal connection. You want to talk about Cardinals connection? I grew up in St. Louis, so. And the reason is because my dad played for them for a few years. But even when he got traded to the Pirates, I mean, we would come back here in the offseason. So, I'd be bugging him to go to Winterfest and do all the Cardinal stuff. And he's like, no, we can't do that.
That's awesome. Well, we can't help but talk about, you've got this Dodgers connection, and Dodgers have been the team of the offseason right now. Andrew is maybe the biggest Shohei Ohtani fan in the entire world. And so his heart has been somewhat crushed, but at the same time, he didn't go to the Cubs, so that was helpful.
That's good.
But what did you think of the Ohtani to the Cubs signing? And then, like, I don't know, what's the allure of the Dodgers for? Oh, yeah, Andrew, sorry. You take this question. This is all you, man.
Yeah. So, my heart wasn't really crushed. I have the Dodgers cap now. I'm somewhat represented.
Stop it.
At this point. But,
I meant you wanted him in St. Louis, so there's.
I mean, yeah, of course. But Dodgers, obviously, really well-respected organization. Just wanted to know, like, what about that organization, like, makes it so special and would draw the $700 million contract that he was offered by, like, 3 or 4 other teams. What would make Shohei Ohtani, a player like him of his caliber, choose LA?
Well, I think first you have to start with the Japanese culture and what happened in the 80s and the early 90s with all the imports that came to LA. So there's a history to begin with Japanese players in LA, Asian players, really. I mean, Korean, Hunchi Kuo. I mean, there's been a bunch that have gone over there and signed. So that helps, having a little history. And then just what they've done the last 10 plus years, I think adds track record to history in the current situation. So there's a little bit more confidence boost. Like this, this organization spending, they're winning. I'm almost guaranteed to be in a playoff, during my contract. That's not a worry for him anymore, I don't think. So there's a lot of checks he can cross off the box with the Dodgers, on top of just organizational standpoint. Like, they do everything really well. They scout who they're going to sign based on, like, personality and if people are going to like them. So they start with a good core of guys, and then as they work up, that I think plays into the big leagues, having guys that are been in the organization doing it the Dodger way. And so it's I mean, if you can think of a reason why he went there, it's a good reason, and it's probably better than why he would go anywhere else.
So, Scott, anybody you're still connected with the Dodgers right now? And then if so, what's like the vibe right now that they have Ohtani, they have my favorite, the guy who was wanting all offseason, Tyler Glass now, and they're in on Yamamoto. They're just having the offseason. Looks like they're about to have the offseason of the century here. What's the vibe in the LA clubhouse?
Well, if I'm on the team, it's good vibes. Maybe if you weren't going to make a trip out to Dodger Stadium to do some workouts on the actual field and use the facilities, you might, schedule a time to go out there, because I think it sounds like Shohei's out there kind of full time using the facilities, getting used to the town and doing all that. So, I mean, it's been something that started like 2011 and 12. I think they started getting serious and started thinking about free agents, and they started bringing in, Adrian Gonzalez and guys from Boston. It's just a continuation of what they've been doing. And I think that the people that own the team's businesses are doing really well. So I think that plays into them being okay spending money.
Well, and I would even say that for Ohtani, it was a real natural, because he's staying in the same place he is, just for a much better competitive team, along with the fact that all the trainers and all, I've heard several things mentioned, but apparently a lot of the trainers that he's working with in the offseason share time with the Dodgers. So, again, that seems like it would be a very natural fit for him. Um, uh, that why wouldn't you want to be in the same town but go to a winner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a great point. I mean, he's going to go to the playoffs a lot. I think Josh Jacobs, sorry, and there's a little two Josh.
that's okay.
But he put out a poll recently about like under over for how many World Series the Dodgers will win. I think he said it at 2.5.
Yeah.
During the Shohei time, like they're gonna do some winning. It's inevitable at this point.
Well, think about this. Kershaw is going to be coming back eventually.
Yeah.
And he was not bad. And think about it. The guy pitched incredible with an injured arm. Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's the best pitcher.
you insert him with Ohtani coming back next year as well. I mean, being able to pitch another year. That they're going to have maybe the best 5 pitchers. I mean, they basically will have 5 guys that are all 1-2 type guys across the 5. I mean, that's going to be really scary. So,
and that's not even considering the depth that they have. Like their farm system is always good. They have a bunch of good young pitchers. So,
and then you've got Walker Buehler coming back from injury. Dustin May just added Tyler Glass now. Like when people say they're desperate for pitching, I know they need like certainty right now, but I'm also like, come on, like how many guys with some of the best stuff in baseball do you need before you're not desperate for pitching anymore? But whatever. Josh, something that was really cool to me when we hopped into St. Louis and I did your guys' podcast is just all the incredible stories you have, man. So what are like 2, like if someone was asking you, tell me 2 like of your most iconic stories. I know you told me one about Albert Pujols is a Lamborghini one time, but like what are 2 like really fun stories that you've had that are connected to the Cardinals in some way that people would be like, what? That's incredible.
Well, I have so many weird stories, but I remember a really cool one when we were doing Christian Family Day was Adam Wainwright that must have been his, I don't want to say it was his rookie year. I think it was his 2nd season. But his wife was pregnant, and I mean, she was real close to being due. And something that just really stood out. I mean, you guys brought up Wainwright, and one of the things that really stood out about him, and really, I mean, I was already a big fan. I was excited. In fact, I had a conversation about JD Drew at that time to Will Jocketty, and I thought that trade was centered around Jason Marquis and Ray Keane because we needed them. But he very quickly clarified that was never the case. Wainwright was the center of that trade. He saw what Wainwright became what he foresaw. But that being said, I was in that dugout right after the game, and I knew Albert was going to be there, and there were some players going to be there. But one of the things that really stood out, it had to be 102 degrees that day. It was brutally hot. It was a July game, brutally hot, and Wainwright comes out with his wife into the dugout, and he refused to. They both wanted to be there to share their faith that day. And I just thought that was a really, really just a cool thing about Wayno that I really appreciated. About Albert, man, there's a lot of different stories I can say about Albert. I mean, one of the things I will always thought was cool is I never saw him at church turn down an autograph for a young person. But when it came to adults, he was always respectful. One of the things he started at our church was a thing called Manly Night. And once a year, he would bring in himself and, like an Andy Venice or Mike Matheny, a few other players. And he would bring barbecue in and basically share his testimony and what God had been working on in his life that year, maybe a lesson God had been teaching him. And his he was, quick the first year, but by 11 years, it was interesting because he really could talk quite a bit. I mean, it was really amazing to watch the transformation in front of a crowd by year 11. And obviously now he's on TV. And I remember those early years when he was nervous and would get up and talk maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And then after, by the end, he didn't have a problem talking 20, 30 minutes and talking about what God was teaching him. But, and what was always cool is that it was usually like the things that our church were being challenged with, we, one year we had to make an A to Z list, and it was like name A to Z things that you would attributes of God. So, like he's almighty, he's beautiful, he's courageous, he died for me. And you go through the whole A through Z list, and he did that. One year we prayed through the Beatitudes, and he did that. So it was cool to see him connect with the church that way. That even though he wasn't always there, that he was participating in what people were challenged to do per se. But
He was there when he was there.
yeah, exactly. So it was really that was really cool. And during that event afterwards, he would sign as many autographs until his hands hurt and couldn't sign another one for anybody in the church and anybody they want to bring. And that's what I was trying to go with was he intentionally did an event every year so that anybody, hey, during church and all, let me and my family do worship. Unless it was a kid, he would never turn out a kid, but. He kind of let it know throughout the church that anybody that needed an autograph or wanted to bring a friend, that was the time, and they could get an autograph, and he would also have it. Also, they would get a chance to hear the gospel, which I always thought was really cool about Albert about that. So yeah, so there's a couple of stories. I got plenty of others. I mean, the Lamborghini that.
Tell that one real quick. That's crazy.
Well. The short end of it is that Shaq talked. So Shaq did a show.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal did a show called Shaq Versus, and that year, he basically was the year that he signed with the Miami Heat. So and they just won the championship. So he signed and won the championship that offseason. He did the show called Shaq Versus, where he took on the top athlete of each sport. So he did like Michael Phelps for swimming. He did, I can't remember, for tennis. And he took on Albert Pujols for the home run hitting contest, in which they went out to T.R. Hughes Fields in St. Charles. And he had, if you guys remember, Ludwig. So Ludwig worked with Shaquille O'Neal during the spring, All-Star break on his hitting for a day or so. And then they did this home run hitting contest. And one of the things during that he did is Albert that spring training was when he signed his first major contract, that $300 million 8-year extension. So when he did that, he finally had a little bit of money. So and Shaq talked him into buying a Lamborghini. It was a silver Lamborghini. We'll never forget it. And so the following year, Albert was doing, I think it was like his second or third year for his charity, and I got a call. From the head of his foundation, Todd, great guy. And he knew that I'd been to Albert's house before and had watched it there a few times for him. And he asked me to do a personal favor. They had a guest who was showing up, but this guest didn't want to be taxied. Back then, we didn't have Ubers yet. So this guest didn't want to be taxied. And he needed somebody to pick him up at the airport, but they needed this particular guest wanted to be picked up in a Lamborghini. So I get to drive Albert's Lamborghini to the airport to pick up Shaquille O'Neal, who actually flew commercial, just so everybody knows, and great guy. He was fun. He harassed me during the golf tournament a little bit because I hung out, and he gave me a signed jersey by everybody on the Miami Heat. So he was absolutely a fantastic individual and just a fun memory that I have, and I will always cherish that opportunity that was given to me. So but yeah, you get to have lots of cool stories, just like with that guy Scott, right next to me. I'm sure he's got a couple fun stories. So,
oh man, everybody's got stories. Everybody's got stories. Josh got stories. Danny's got stories. Andrew, everybody got stories.
I know, but you got to caddy for Joe Pesci. Come on, man, how cool is that guy?
Caddy for Joe Pesci.
That's incredible.
He was wearing cut off jean shorts and a white wife beater, and one of those like gangster like little mini cap things, like a little bowler cap. It was weird. He rocked.
Yeah, and who got to play as a kid against Ken Griffey Jr. in the atrium of a hotel during the All-Star game?
Wow.
Yeah. It was Ken Griffey Jr. wiffle ball. I think it was like 2 hours before the home run derby contest. He was like on his way out, and we were in, and he's like, "What are you boys doing?" Because we were playing wiffle ball in the lobby, the big atrium, and he didn't know who we were, but
that's crazy.
He found out and stuck around and played with us.
That's so cool.
That is absolutely nuts. I'm still stuck thinking about Shaquille O'Neal like fitting into a commercial airplane, right? Like what? It's tight for me, and I'm like barely. I'm 6'1" on a good day, so that is
just first class, right? No,
that's
fair. That's still small.
Yeah,
still space for him.
He was a fun guy. Well, imagine fitting in a Lamborghini too. You know, like I here's the funny part. I didn't know where to put his bag. Like I never drove in his Lamborghini. I was scared to death I'm going to wreck this thing, right? So I literally grabbed his this big duffel bag, and I'm like, I know the engine's not in front. And I believe it's in the back, but I'm not going to make a fool of myself because I didn't take the time. I mean, I kind of just went to the house, grabbed the car to go get him. So long story short, it sat in my lap. He actually drove us back to the golf course because he looked over at me and said, "Hey, son, you know, I had you bring this car so I could drive it." So so I gave him directions back to the golf course. And credit to him, he didn't speed. I was afraid that we were going to get pulled over. I was
Shaq?
Ooh.
I don't know. He's
like
a little older than
50
me.
or 60. I don't.
I think he's gonna be in his
45.
50s, maybe. Because
I'm just
Yeah,
thinking like you're 50 and he called you son, but you guys are probably the same age back then.
Yeah, but he's much taller than me, and I
He's a
looked a lot
giant.
younger back then too. You know,
He's a
so
little giant.
he is.
Unreal.
He is. So
That is so crazy. But Scott, one weird connection that Andrew and I share with you. So you were drafted out of high school in 2005 from John Burroughs. So Andrew and I are also John Burroughs grads. We graduated in the class of 2021, which is kind of crazy. And it gets even weirder. So I was a member of the John Burroughs School Bible Study, JBSBS.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you know who Zach Fay is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He goes to our church.
Yeah. He's been leading that forever. And so we used to meet at your dad's house, right by Burroughs, and he made us the best banana pancakes.
Oh yeah.
So
he's a
I
big
just wanted to
breakfast
throw that
guy.
in there. Yeah, and I think you might have been in the same class as one of my cousins or something, like just crazy stuff.
That's wild. I mean, Burroughs is a small community, but that's people do some things out of that school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
So one thing I wanted to ask about, I know a lot of players, like especially in other sports, right? You don't have guys drafted out of high school very often, but being drafted out of high school, what did that look like to decide to go sign with somebody being drafted in the 14th round? What made you make that decision? I know it's a long time ago. And then what's it like being, 18 and all of a sudden you're playing minor league baseball?
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I knew I was going to get drafted. I didn't know when. I didn't think that people would draft me after the 5th round just because I had told them, like, if you don't draft me in the, if I'm not your top 5 guy, I don't want to be drafted. I'll just go to college. So when the Dodgers drafted me in the 13th, I think it was the 13th round. I don't remember. I think it was 13th. They did it was the last year of this. It was called Draft and Follow. And Draft and Follow is that they could sign you and still legally watch you come out, send scouts. So that's what they did, and they ended up signing me. Remind me of the question again. I'm veering off in a.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Just kind of like, what was it like to be an 18-year-old or 19-year-old done with high school, and then all of a sudden you're playing minor league baseball? Yeah.
So the biggest jump, obviously, is like your parents are taking care of you. You got meals. Nobody's asking for bills, and so then when I went to it was rookie extended ball in Florida. So I went and signed, and you're immediately with like grown men that have been in college for 4 years that have like scruff on their face and like telling you about these protein powders they're doing, and you're still like 18-year-old high school kid in your in your mind. So it's like a shock that okay, this is a real thing. Like that 22-year-old knows his time is short. Like he's a serious person. Don't like, so just the social dynamic of like, you have your few friends in high school to like, here's 130 people in a facility, like figure it out, kid. That was a big one. That was a big test.
That's just crazy.
So just like little things like that I'm sure everybody has those little things when you go to college, like having to do your own laundry for the first time, maybe like just little things that just stack up over time. It's wild.
That's a lot. Quick question. If you had gone to college, where do you think you would have gone right after?
Well, I'd signed to go to Ole Miss,
Okay.
Mississippi, University of Mississippi. So that's where I would have gone. I don't know if I would have gone there and made myself a better person down the road, or I don't know what a college done for me. All I knew is I was playing summer ball. I was playing Legion ball that summer when I got drafted, and there was like this is part of my decision. Part of the decision I signed is because there was like a month and a half gap between, it was like when the signing date was like July something, and then college baseball picked up in like, I don't remember what it was, like kind of in the fall when you could start doing baseball again. And so like I didn't want to miss that month and a half of playing baseball, so I just signed so I could go from playing Legion ball to playing baseball again.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and ask a story that I think a lot of people might be familiar with. So, in the postseason, you were with the Dodgers. You were playing against the Cardinals at Busch Stadium, and current Dodger, formerly number 17, Joe Kelly, and you had a standoff after I think during the national anthem or after the national anthem. Something like that. So, can you tell us about that story, and then also, growing up as a Cardinal fan, what was it like to like play at Busch Stadium against the Cardinals, especially in like those playoff moments?
yeah, that was so 2013 we were playing, 2014, 2013, I can't remember the exact year. Playing the Cardinals, and there was like a newspaper clipping about how patriotic Joe Kelly had been the whole year, that he like made it a point to be the last one out, and like it was really weird because the story wasn't like a story. It wasn't like it's just silly. I mean, it's a silly story to be the most patriotic, but it was like in the clippings of like the city that we would just be in. So we'd like go play Colorado, and it would be like a little thing like Dodgers or the Cardinals lost to the Rockies, whatever, but Joe Kelly kept his whatever for being on the like being patriotic. I was like, that's ridiculous. Like this guy's getting all this street cred for being patriotic. I'll go out there and show him how patriotic someone can be. I literally won't move until he moves. I don't care. So that's what happened. Went out there, and I would have left, but everybody started screaming that they'd pay my fines. That we got other pinch hitters. You'll be, we need you. Stuff, So it was a good time.
That's incredible. And it makes it even more funny now because Joe Kelly's personality showed out a little bit back then, but obviously over the past few years, he's done the like sticking the tongue out at the Astros, and he's his own animal now. So that's really awesome. I'm just looking at your baseball reference page a little bit here, and like 2013 and 2014, you were killing it at the plate. You had a 157 OPS plus in 2014. So like, you weren't a slouch. No, you were no slouch at the plate. That's what I was trying to say. Words are hard. But like obviously your career ebbed and flowed in different ways. What was it like to go through, especially because baseball's a game of failure. So what was it like to go through the day in and day out grind of having amazing seasons, having poor seasons, having great weeks, having bad weeks? And I know you've talked about your faith a lot too. So like, I'm sure that was probably a big part of that story too. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the grind, the day-to-day of the highs and lows of playing Major League Baseball.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned Major League Baseball, but before I was in the major leagues, I was in the minor leagues for 6.5 years. So you learn a lot about failure in the minor leagues. So when it was good in the big leagues, I could enjoy it. When it was bad, I also knew that that's baseball. There always has been, as far as my history has told me, there's always an upswing. So like, you're hitting 140, like, okay, when's the 400 week coming? That's just kind of how you think in baseball. And so, I know my dad was Andy Van Slyke. He had an awesome career, all-star, Gold Glove, but that hype wasn't attached to me. Like I had the potential. I wasn't very fast. So there's just a little things that I needed to be way better at to make up for my lack of mobility and speed and quickness and all that. And so it took me a while to figure out that was going to be just hitting the ball where they can't catch it and far, whether that's doubles or, long singles or home runs. It wasn't going to be on base and all that until later on when on base got dumped on people as a good thing and all that stuff. So slugging and on base, but so learning that and then getting to the big leagues and having the successful year, it's great. But then, 2015, I'm back to planet Earth. 2016, similar thing. And I think, that just kind of wears on you. Like, I had 13, 14 grade. I'm still the backup guy. I'm still, hanging around. So I don't know how many careers that go 7, 10, 15 years that are just straight up backup guys. I mean, it gets exhausting to do all the work that everybody else has to do and then maybe not play that day. So it adds up, and then they're a little bit less patient when you get injured and things aren't working out. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to quickly welcome Lynn Worthy to the podcast here. Thanks for joining us on stream, Lynn. We are so excited to talk to you as well. Again, we have just an incredible guest lineup tonight. So we're going to be transitioning here in a little bit. I wanted to ask Scott one more question. So, before we went on here, I was looking at your numbers a little bit, and I saw your luscious beard from your playing days. But you came on, and it's better. It's aged like fine wine. I want to ask, what is the beard care routine? I've been trying to figure it out, right? I can't get anything like that. How do you do
stuff in here?
Well, I will say oil is not overrated. I think it's rated appropriately. Use oil. And then also do not use plastic combs. You use brushes. You think about the little bristles, spiking a little bit of growth, agitating, that kind of stuff. So use a brush.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'm taking notes here. So, I mean, if I could ever produce that someday, that'd be incredible. But seriously, guys, Josh and Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, check out Triple Play. If I'm getting this right, it's Sports, Faith, and Culture.
That's right.
That's it.
So yeah, go check out their stuff. Seriously, it's awesome. I've been listening to some of it lately. They just provide great commentary on the game, but also they link it to, faith and culture, which is just an incredible viewpoint. And then the stories they provided, it's just the tip of the iceberg for the expertise they share. They've got great energy. So thanks for joining us so much. We have enjoyed this so much. We're going to be transitioning now to Lynn, but yeah,
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for what you're doing for the impact. And we need more people to step up and help out with charity. This is a good thing. So.
Thanks, Josh. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon. See you guys.
See you guys. Thank you.